The Buccaneers were just put on notice, particularly last night with a very surprising win for the Atlanta Falcons over the Buffalo Bills, and also the Panthers going with two straight wins in the past couple weeks with an impressive victory over the Dallas Cowboys. Suddenly, the NFC South has a few more players than maybe we thought that they were going to be after this week, but we got to talk about it because the Buccaneers were not the only team in the NFC South. Sometimes people were considering us the only team to think about or to worry about, but after this week, it's worth noting that shoot, even the Saints, they're not playing terrible football. They're just losing games, but it's really interesting, and I really want to talk about this because we haven't really been talking about the other teams that much. We talked about the Falcons when we played them in Week 1, but that was really about it. I haven't mentioned the Panthers much at all on this channel. The Saints aren't even worth discussing until we face them. But yeah, let's talk about it. Okay, so likes, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. We're making some really good headway in just the way that we're building this community. But I'm not nervous, but I'm intrigued. I'm interested. And that was an impressive performance last night by the Falcons. I don't think there's any other way around that. With us being the top dogs in the NFC South, we're allowed to tip our cap to the Falcons. We beat them earlier this year, so we kind of have the upper ground right now. But at the same time, this Falcons team, they are gearing up to be, real players against the Buccaneers. And I knew this ever since we played them. I don't think that Week 1 game was like a fluke or anything by that. Maybe the Falcons are a bit more inconsistent, especially, and someone's going to need to tell me how this happened. That 30-0 game that the Panthers did to the Falcons earlier this year is the biggest mystery of this entire season to me. I don't know how that happened. I watched the highlights and I still don't know how that happened. So if anyone actually can explain to me, if you're a Falcons fan, Panthers fan, Bucs fan, NFL fan, if you actually maybe watched some tape and understood some breakdowns, I would love some answers on that one because that one made no sense to me. But anyway, let's just break this down because there's I do want to talk about just kind of what the landscape of the NFC South looks like right now. Bailey Adams from Pewter Report had to say there are still 12 weeks left in the season, and that's a message being drilled into the entire locker room right now. But there's still room to appreciate that despite their injury crisis, the Bucs are on the right track toward not just their 5th straight NFC South title, but a better seeding than they've had in recent years. The Panthers' 30-27 win over the Cowboys on Sunday afternoon, and the Falcons' 24-14 win over the Bills on Monday night afternoon meant the Bucs win didn't create any further separation in the NFC South race, other than the game they gained on the cellar-dwelling Saints. Nonetheless, the 4-time defending division champions still lead the way in the division race by 1.5 games. So that's, we all knew that we were leading, and we are also the number 1 seed right now in the NFC, which we will be playing for in a game against the Lions on Monday Night Football, probably one of the most anticipated games of the entire season for any team, really. It's just going to be exciting football. But we're playing the big boy football right now. And the Falcons, that was really impressive what their win was. And I'm not trying to diminish that right now. But all eyes are on us, rightfully so, because Baker Mayfield is the MVP frontrunner right now. And we're playing some of the most exciting, exhilarating football. And we're going up against a really exhilarating team to watch with the Lions, who are now depleted on their secondary. So it should just be an offensive shootout, hopefully with Mike Evans coming back. We'll see as practice goes on this week. But also we'll see how Emeka does in his recovery with his hamstring. But let's talk about the other teams. That's what this video is about. There was a tweet that I really liked here that said, Bucs might be the best team in the NFL just because the Panthers and Atlanta can go band to band with anyone. Saints have been in close games all year. The NFC South is not the worst division in football anymore. I think that's, an apt takeaway for these past few weeks. The Saints give the Bills a run for their money. They were going toe-to-toe with the Patriots for a little bit there. They haven't figured out how to win games yet. They're still working on that. But honestly, Kellen Moore has not disappointed, I would say. If you ask Saints fans, they actually have some hope there. Spencer Rattler is not looking as bad as we thought he might. Now they're still struggling to finish games and win them, but they're just probably in a talent deficit right now. And whether or not they're going to go on a fire sale of some of their older players, like Cam, oh my gosh, You know what I'm talking about, the edge rusher, and Alvin Kamara. It's just one of those things that we'll see what happens. Olave, I've been hearing trade rumors about the Giants, but anyway, that's the most we're really going to talk about the Saints. They're not going to be a playoff team this year, but there is some headway. Just there's some seeds of potential, things that can be going well for them. But we'll see how the trade rumors end up going forward. But what's also important to note is that after a huge night in Monday night's win over the Bills, Bijan Robinson leads the NFL with 822 yards from scrimmage, on pace for 2,795, which would easily reset the NFL record and do so in 16 games, so no 17th game asterisk. That's incredible. That's just utterly absurd. I don't think he'll keep that pace. But people keep saying that about Baker, keep saying that about other players. I do think Bijan, listen, I loved him ever since he was in the draft, but thankfully we have our own, amazing, exciting running back in Bucky. And those two are going to be going to toe-to-toe with each other for a long time, just like I think Penix and Baker will for a while. And then this, statistic is really interesting. I thought Rico Dowdle for the Panthers has more yards from scrimmage in his last two games than Saquon has had all season. And so and Saquon's played 6 games. So that's really, really impressive. Rico has had I wouldn't say a resurgence. Everyone was he was on people's radar. Some people would be starting him on fantasy, but now he's a must start on fantasy. And there's no questioning that the Panthers are, they're here to kind of make some noise, make some business. Because a couple weeks ago, when the Panthers were getting embarrassed, I think they got completely demolished by, was it the Seahawks, or was that the Saints? Anyway, they weren't playing really good games. That I think there was a podcast that stopped covering them, and it a Panthers-based podcast, I should say. And ever since then, these past 2 weeks, the Panthers have had 2 good wins, and it feels like vibes have really shifted in favor of the Panthers looking really good, and not really good, but in the sense of they're playing winning football. They're able to go toe to toe with the Cowboys, who they went toe to toe with the Packers, which means the Panthers can probably play a good game against anyone, and the Bucs should not take them lightly. We won't see them until the end of the year, so these teams are going to look very different, just injury wise and just how they're playing, the tape that'll be shown on both of them. So, but it is worth noting that it does look like Dave Canales, our former offensive coordinator from a few years ago, is doing some good things in Carolina. It's not all down and depressing. Bryce Young really does have his moments. He has some down moments too, kind of like Penix. It's like an up and down thing. They're both trying to figure out who they are and what they are in their systems, but they are nowhere near the bottom of the class of the NFL. We're not dealing with the Jets or anything. These teams are on the up and up. Now the Saints, on the other hand, we'll see. They have a lot of issues, particularly salary cap-wise, which is preventing them from really acquiring a lot of talent. Cameron Jordan, I'm sorry. That's who I was thinking of before, and I just, had a brain fart. But yeah, he's on the trade block as well for the Saints. But anyway, I do think that all this is really just interesting for the Panthers. There's a really cool moment that I saw on Twitter that there was a moment where a practice squad player, I'm sorry, his name I will absolutely butcher. Mayma, I think is his first name, is how you pronounce it. He said he was signed off of the Bengals practice squad in week 3. And he said to Dave Canales after the win over Dallas, "Thank you for bringing me here, coach." And you can just think oh, that's a practice squad player. He's just happy to have any opportunity on any team. But I think these kind of moments do show that they're building a good culture over there, that these guys trust each other. They're trusting their process. Canales, it seems like he actually has a good handle over the head coaching job. You can look at guys like the Titans, head coach who just got fired, Callahan, who clearly was in over his head, and then now it's okay, this Canales does not look like he's in over his head. They've lost games, but it looks like they're building something that you can tell. People should remember Dan Campbell from the Lions. He started his career with the Lions at 0-10 before they've had a complete turnaround. Some of these things take time, especially changing a culture. It's a process. And Todd Bowles, I think is in the running of the coach of the year, not just because of the adjustments he's made personally and just like time management and developing his players and making adjustments on his staff and the personnel, all that kind of stuff, but the way that he has handled like close game situations. Just overall, he's willing to adapt, but also make sure that he stays who he is and keeps a good, accountable culture. Those are the best teams in the league typically, and right now the Bucs are considered one of the best teams in the league. Considering all the injuries, next man up mentality, he has his players ready to play no matter what, and people are making the comparisons already. This feels like last year's Lions, who just kept winning no matter what with all the injuries that they were sustaining. Now the difference is the Buccaneers will be getting players back, and I don't think a lot of players for the Lions were coming back for them last year. A lot of season-ending injuries. Aiden Hutchinson was a massive blow that defense had to endure. To the point where it's like the offense had to stay on the field for a lot of times for the Lions so that they wouldn't have to put their defense back out there and basically let the other team score. And it came back to bite them, obviously, in the playoffs. But the Buccaneers, I don't think are going to be that. I mean, listen, I won't say anything because I don't want to jinx it. But we're not there in our current situation. We have, I am expecting to go into every game with a good chance to win because we are that good, we're that well coached and well managed. But the Falcons and the Panthers are teams that we should be keeping our eyes on. Not necessarily like, oh, they're gonna win the division. They're gonna be better than the Buccaneers in the long term. I don't think that's necessarily. I mean, you never know. The NFL is weird, but they aren't as bad as people were assuming. That the NFC South isn't just like this basket of deplorable teams where it's like the Buccaneers are the only good ones there. No, I actually think that these three teams for sure are building something. And I think that the Falcons, what a win that was. I mean, this is a post from a Falcons account. They said after week 6, the Falcons are number 1 in the NFL in total defense, number 2 in the NFL in total offense, and they have yet to play a complete game. It's about to be scary hours. Now, that's a bit of coping if you ask me, because it's like, listen, a lot of teams don't play complete games. There hasn't been a ton. I mean, there's been some blowouts, obviously, but this feels like the most parity we've seen in the league in a while. The Chiefs do look like they're coming back to their normal form, their normal offensive firepower form, which is a bit nerve-wracking. So we'll see how that goes for them. But overall, right now they're still 3-3. The Falcons are 3-2. The Panthers are at 500. I think they're 3-3. It's just the Saints who are like 1-5. So it's just. Overall, I do think people underestimated or overreacted to the beginning of the season where the Panthers and both the Falcons weren't, looking very good. It was looking like the Bucs were the only real team in there. And now it's like, okay, the Bucs do have, some teams to deal with later in the season. We'll be having our creamsicle versus Dirty Bird game in Tampa, which will be an amazing watch. I will be there for that. But we'll have to face the Panthers in 2 games in 3 weeks. So that'll be interesting. We did that. We've been doing that plenty in the past few years. And then we'll have to face the Saints twice. But I'm not feeling totally confident about that. I hate the Saints. That's a bitter rivalry. I don't think about them very much, but at the same time, you never know because it looks like things have changed a little bit for them. They were pretty, not good last year, but now this year, while they're not winning games, they're still making stuff of themselves. But the Falcons, I'm really, really paying attention to because when you beat the Bills like they did, and I would almost consider that a down. I mean, I know it was only a 10-point win, and it was still close in the fourth quarter. But Josh Allen could barely do anything that game. If you watch the whole game, it was a really impressive performance by that Falcons defense. Penix still trying to figure out who he is, but Bijan Robinson is an absolute stud. He's making a case to be the best running back in the league right now. And so, once Bucky comes back, then he'll retake that for sure. But, someone has to be that guy while Bucky is out. And listen, I'm excited because I'm kind of tired of being called the kings of Trash Mountain. Listen, the Patriots were the kings of that for 20 years, and they were winning Super Bowls, so it doesn't really matter. But at the same time, I do feel like iron sharpens iron, that these teams will make each other better. I do think that the Falcons have really started to come together, especially defensively. They have a lot of more confidence. They're playing with a lot more just fire in their bellies. It's just it was really impressive to watch what they did to the Bills. Now, maybe the Bills aren't as good as we thought. They have 2 straight losses. The Patriots are also looking good. There's a lot of just things in the league overall that I think are really, really interesting. And I want to ask you guys, how do you feel about the NFC South as a whole? Which team do you think maybe has the brightest future? Are you worried about any of them at all? Or is it more of like, okay, let's not overreact here. It's still early in the season. The Buccaneers have the 1 seed right now. We're the big boys currently. Baker's the MVP for a front runner. Let's enjoy this. And maybe that's maybe the lesson from all of this video is that despite these teams in our division doing good things and they're developing and they're winning games, the Buccaneers are the talk of the town and the best story in the NFL. Maybe despite like you could argue the Colts, I guess, but the most fun at the very least. But I think the best story so far, and they're just making football really, really just enjoyable for all Bucs fans. Now it's really scary during the games when we're watching them in these close games, and maybe that's why there's some hesitation for some folks to put the Buccaneers as high as they want to in their power rankings. Although I've seen a lot of number ones this week so far, but I can understand the last little bit of trepidation. Like, okay, listen, they're really injured and they're still winning games. That's impressive, but it's also very close games. What will that mean when it comes playoff time? I think that once we're healthy, we are the scariest team in the league, maybe despite you could argue the Chiefs or something. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'm really interested to see whether we think people are overreacting or they're acting appropriately, or are you interested more now the NFC South is seeming to develop this new era of because it used to be Matt Ryan, Cam Newton, Drew Brees, and Jameis Winston. Those were the 4 guys going at each other for a little bit, and now it seems like it's gonna be Baker for sure is gonna be one of the king of the hill for a little bit. But Penix, I think, just from what I saw in these past few games, the Bucs versus Falcons game, I think Penix will be their long-term answer at quarterback. Bryce Young, I'm pretty sure will still be their answer. He's still up and down. I know some Panthers fans are not convinced. Saints, I have no idea. That's the one where I'm that could go any way. But yeah, let me know what you just think about the NFC South and the future of it. But until then, we'll get more injury updates on Emeka and stuff as we go along. And we'll just start getting ready for this game of the week, of the year with the Lions on Monday night. We will be streaming it. I want to keep reminding you guys, subscribe so you are notified and ready for when that stream comes around. We'll be right here doing it in the channel. It's free, and we're just going to have a blast. Whatever happens, it should be a good time. But until the next video, I'll see you then.